I'm going to go test. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is the Solid Waste Advisory Commission regular meeting for January 26th, 2026. It is now 5 minutes after 4, and we'll start off with roll call. Please indicate if you are present. Wade Ramsey. Here. Mark Nelson. Here. Bill Baber. Here. Steve Corey. Here. Randy Rabin. Here. Bethany Guajardo.
Here.
Sanjay Desam. Divya Dinesh. Amy Chuhajian. We'll move on to ex officio members. Rochelle Klein. Quorum being present, we'll go ahead and start the meeting. The first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at it. Are there any comments or any corrections to the agenda? No. Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve. It's been moved and seconded that the agenda be approved as written. Further, I noticed that there's kind of a two-step process. There's pushing the gray button to get your green light on, and then make sure that the green light on the screen is when you're trying to talk. I didn't, anyway. Further comments or on the motion, which is to approve the agenda as written? Sensing the commission is ready for a vote. Oh, yes, Bill.
There's a hard copy of the agenda anyway. I'd love to see it. Thanks.
Today's agenda or the October agenda?
Today's agenda. Sorry, I know some people only use digital, but I still use a piece of paper. I'm old.
You're good. Mr. Chair, I move we adopt the approval of the October agenda.
Actually, we're still on the January edition, and I'll go ahead and call for a vote on that one because you guys did move and second that. So recognizing there's been no comments or amendments, we'll go ahead and move on to a vote. All those in favor of approving the draft agenda for the January 26th meeting as written signify by saying aye.
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 Mr. Chair?
Aye.
Yes.
I would note that today is the 28th.
Oh, you're right.
The year is 26, but yes, I vote yes to the draft minutes or agenda for January 28th.
Any opposed say no. The motion passes. Anyway, now we move on to approval of minutes. There's so the next item under approval of minutes 1 is approval of the October 22nd, 2025 meeting minutes. Are there any comments or motions?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the minutes from October.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the October 25th meeting as written. Further comments or motions?
Mr. Chair, since
Yes.
I wasn't part of the board, I'll abstain, and I don't think you need my vote because you probably have 4 out of 5.
I agree that, yeah, it'd be a 4-0 with 1 abstention noted. Presuming. Anyway, all those in favor of approving the draft minutes as written signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed say no. The motion passes. Thank you. The September 24th minutes are on the agenda, but it's only to go ahead and note that the correction that had been identified in our October meeting has been made. And so they now match the vote that we took at the October meeting that they be approved as amended. So no action necessary there. With that, we move into old business. And the item under old business is the art contest. Bethany, are you in a position to talk about that, or does that need Amy?
I believe that needs Amy. Can you guys hear me?
But is Amy on?
No, that's Bethany. It's Amy that is.
And this is telling me that Bethany's talking. Can you check the volume?
Yeah, that's what we're trying.
Oh,
That's what I'm letting you know what she said.
okay.
I was saying Amy would be the one to discuss the updates on that. Can you hear me? Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I said Amy would be the one to be able to give the update. Can you guys hear me?
Bethany, just to kind of give you an indication over here, the volume is really, really low. And so Sayard and Peter are trying to figure out what's going on with that to try to raise the volume in the chamber.
We're working on it. Everything is turned up all the way to max, so we're still see if there's a setting that's loose, but that's where we're at.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
there we go. Okay, I was saying Amy would be the one to give the update.
Right. Okay. So Amy is not in attendance. I talked with her directly a couple of weeks, 10 days ago, and she had indicated that over the course of the last 3 months, she'd not heard any particular comments on the previous program. And so, and understand, this is only in general terms. She was going to go ahead and talk about proceeding very similar to what we've done in the past. But I don't want to put any words in her mouth. And I know that at that time she was talking about fleshing some stuff out for the February meeting.
I can connect with her and we can maybe circle back on that on for next month's meeting, but we can also update you in the meantime via email.
Yeah, we'll have to. The nice thing about it is if we're going to have a presentation on open meeting law at the next meeting in February, we need to avoid getting into decision-making type activities. But if stuff is strictly informational, we can go ahead and present some material, but it's got to be, it cannot lead towards any decision.
Okay, that's
Anyway,
fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So given that caveat, perfect. Thank you. I know you joined the subcommittee with Divya and Amy, and so I appreciate you kind of helping me on that item.
Absolutely.
So unfortunately, at this point, the short of it is that we will be proceeding with the art contest, but details are coming. We'll move on to new business. And the first item under new business is annual voting for chair and vice chair. The term for chair and vice chair is a one-year term. And so each January, we go ahead and open up for reelection and such, or election of new officers and such. Also, there's a new thing from the bylaws this time, which we'll start on this. The bylaws identify that the vice chair is, don't read too much into this one word, automatically nominated for chair for the coming year. So Mark Nelson is our current vice chair. Consider yourself nominated, but you're welcome to speak to that.
I am going to speak to that. Thank you. Although it'd be a great opportunity, I would prefer to not be in that role this year. I don't think I could serve it correctly. And I'm comfortable with being the vice chair this year, if that's what people desire, or give someone else an opportunity, however.
So with that, we're going to go ahead and move into nominations. And as I've identified in the past, if I should be nominated and if there are additional candidates, then I will be turning over the chair to the vice chair to run during that election of chairman. So we'll start off by looking for nominations for this coming year. Are there any nominations for chair for 2026?
Before we go too far, Mr. Chair, are you comfortable being a nominee also?
If nominated, I would accept the nomination.
Well, I'd like to nominate Steve Corey as for chair.
I'll second.
Steve Corey has been moved and nominated to be chair for 2026. Are there any other nominations? Any further nominations? And Robert's rule says make a third request for any nominations. No nominations being present, then the nomination process will close. I say that slowly so that people can go ahead and protest if there's anything that no one does. Next with Roberts, since there is only one candidate, then the candidate is presented to be elected for office by acclamation. And so I appreciate the trust that you guys have given to me. As you know, I really encourage anyone to say anything if they think there's anything that can improve our position or our activities, to please come and tell me. I certainly am open to criticism and recommendations. With that, we move on to nominations for vice chair. The floor is open for nominations for vice chair.
Mr. Chair, I nominate Mark for vice chairman.
I'll second.
Mark Nelson has been nominated and seconded for the position of vice chair in 2026. Are there further nominations? Further nominations? Not seeing any nominations, additional nominations. The process for nomination will be closed. Since there's only one candidate, then Mark is elected to the position by acclamation. Thank you, Mark, for stepping up and helping us.
Thank you.
With that, we move on to the next item of business, item 5, and that's verifying the meeting schedule. Our meetings are set up to be the fourth Wednesday of the month, January through September or through October. We do not meet in November and December. apparently by what I've been given before, we don't need to ratify that or do anything. However, this is an opportunity in case there's some reason why there needs to be consideration of an adjustment. Does anyone have any comments on that meeting schedule?
Do you ever take the summer off?
We do not. In fact, actually, um,
A summer month. is-
we actually received the proposal for fees for the next fiscal year in July. And so it's actually our opportunity to review the proposal and work on it. So we have regular work during the summer. Um,
To verify the, Mr. Chair, the rules around Zoom participation haven't changed, right?
Correct. And I'm going to go ahead and express that. Now, there is in ordinance, in city ordinance, there are 10 meetings. If a commissioner fails to attend a majority of the meetings by physical presence or by Zoom, the city can go ahead and declare their position open and go ahead and have a new commissioner assigned to that position. So when you get the note that a meeting is planned, please kind of get back to us, to Sayard or myself, or to both of us, that you intend to meet. If you can't, that's totally understandable, family and whatever else, but it helps us if for something has come up and you can't attend, that we know that there's a reason why you weren't attending. And definitely, if you intend to go ahead and connect by Zoom, please make sure that Sayard and me, telling Sayard or whatever, know that you want to connect by Zoom. Otherwise, it's kind of like a meeting a couple of months ago. We were off and running and no one quite caught. Someone joined and they were sitting there in the ether. And we apologize for that. But unfortunately, make sure we know if that's what your intention is to join by Zoom.
Ask Sayre, what's the timeline you want for notice? I assume 5 minutes. Okay, so what do you want?
At least a couple of hours. Like even that day is fine. So, but it's helpful if you, when I do send out it, because I'll send out a week before the meeting, I'll send out an email with all the documents to read. You can just let me know if you're gonna be there, you know, maybe yes, maybe no, and then the day of, if you're a maybe, let me know, and then always, yeah, so I'll be looking over here, if you guys are.
Further comments or questions in regards to the attendance policy and the planned meeting schedule?
No questions. Wednesday, 4 PM works for me.
Perfect. We will move on to the next item, which is the Community Recycling Fund Program quarterly report. Now, the Community Recycling Fund, diving back into history, was originally a situation where recycle markets were pretty darn good. And we were able to put our recyclable materials out on the curb. They were collected and they were sent out. There were enough customers to go ahead and sustain a pretty solid market. And we received a good deal of money back from that. It's a little difficult to go ahead and tag the money coming from that. And it wasn't really enough to really adjust people's bills hardly at all anyway. So it was put into this community recycling fund. And the intention was that this commission would go ahead and identify spending plans for that to go ahead and do public projects that encouraged recycling, or at least were made with recycled materials to go ahead and show use and such. And then the recycling markets cratered. Now, there is a separate stream with cardboard that goes through the Meridian transfer station through our hand-in-hand program. And there's a bin over there to receive the cardboard. Since it's sorted and it can kind of go bypass a lot of the processing, it has given us a trickle of money going into this recycling fund. Where we were at the end of the last quarter, at the end of the last meeting, was about $108,000. And since that time period, we received 3 checks totaling about $2,000. We're just a little under 110,000 at this point. And so, you know, we were a year ago receiving about $1,000 a month. It's now down to about $650 a month. So the markets are still softening, and that's unfortunately the nature of the business. We have previously looked at this fund and said that we were going to hold on to it for a little while because of the fact that in the foreseeable future, though probably at least a year away, there could be some changes in what's happening with composting. And we may want a little bit of funding to go ahead and talk about composting or something like that. So at this particular point, the account is just there. No actions are planned with it right now. But certainly it's something that's under the purview of the commission and could be picked up when appropriate. Excuse me. Based on the information presented on the Community Recycling Fund, are there any questions or comments?
So there's funds there available for some sort of project that would fall under our purview. And it has been sitting there because of the markets, just to clarify.
That is correct.
And
then
sorry, go ahead.
what we would do is make a recommendation to council, and council must approve the expenditure of the funds.
Got it. What kinds of things in the past, or have we had anything similar in the past where we've used it for specific projects?
Yeah, it's been a broad spectrum of things. We have bought playground equipment for some of the parks to go ahead, and that was made with Trex type material, actually with Trex material to buy bins for recycled materials in the parks, and park benches have been purchased. The artwork just south of downtown where the road splits, the metal Meridian sign, we contributed to the purchase of that sign. We have bought tote bags, encouraging recycling, and handed them out at some grocery stores in town. And those are just some things that kind of come to mind.
Yeah, I think we donated to the mobile library kind of project a few years ago, which was kind of a big deal at the time.
And I think we also bought recycled aluminum baseball benches or stadium benches.
I'm sure you're right about that. So yeah, there's, well, and it would be a situation when it came up where the commission would determine what they thought was appropriate, recommending it to council, and council would then approve the expenditure. So subject to council's review and comment. Well, anyway, we can get to that when it's desired. Further comments on the community recycling fund?
Mr. Chair, any concerns that it's a use it or lose it situation? Do we have any sense of that or fear of that?
Correct. No, it's kind of a sequestered fund. I mean, maybe more so on the concept in some spreadsheet, it's a line item and it sits there. So yeah, it's just sitting there until, but there is no use it or lose it type
Great.
threat.
Not going to be reallocated someplace else.
Additional comments or questions? With that, we'll move on to the last item under new business, which is to report on the County Solid Waste Advisory Committee, which met earlier today. I'm going to segue off of this a little bit because we've had a lot of interface meetings in the last week. I do want to just briefly mention from the Household Hazardous Waste Quarterly meeting, the incidence of fires in trucks and potentially at the landfill. Certainly with the trucks, it's easy to identify from lithium batteries for e-cigarettes, vape containers and such is becoming a bit more prevalent. There was about 6 incidents a year. It's now somewhere between 6 and 8. So about every 6 to 8 weeks, we see something like this. I imagine many of you saw in the paper, they had to dump a load to get it out of the truck because the trucks, correct me if I'm wrong, are multi-million-dollar vehicles.
Mr. Chair, that depends on the vehicle, but probably what, 450,000 to 800,000, depending on the truck type, but yes.
Okay. So, the unfortunate situation is the load has to be dumped in a place there, and then fire department responds to help put out the fire and such, but the loss of the vehicle would be tragic, basically. It takes 9 to 12 months to get a vehicle once ordered. So anyway, nothing with us now, but I want to mention that it's a fairly significant issue. I've seen numerous public service items from the fire departments. And I know that city staff across the valley, Meridian and Boise, are working on common information grounds for an information campaign on this. Anyway, segueing over to the county meeting earlier today, kind of 3 things that kind of come up from that is looking forward. They're anticipating their expenses are fairly steady. Basically, the growth pretty much follows the population growth of the county. And therefore, as a result of that, the waste they receive is at that level, and the revenues for received waste are more or less matching. But they did warn us that they are likely to pursue another $1 per ton increase to become effective October 1st with the next rate increase. That tends to be a pass-through deal. We don't really have much of a voice in that situation, but and a $1 increase at the gate has a tendency to translate to about 10 to 15 cent increase per household account per month. But more to come on that. And we had a very robust conversation. I was very interested in it. The engineering contractor for the county went ahead and went over groundwater monitoring from the landfill. And recently they have added monitoring for PFAS, which is polyfluorinated, alkaline compounds and such, but regardless, kind of a compound of concern right now. Pleasantly, with testing in April and in October of last year, nearly 90% of the analyses, the compounds were not detectable. And of the ones where it was detectable, which is about 4 or 5 of them, 3 or 4 of them, well, those numbers are not on my top of my head here, but most of those numbers were below the quantification level. All of the levels that they saw were below the maximum contamination level being presented by the Environmental Protection Agency for drinking water. So even though the runoff near the landfill is not going into a drinking water per se, that's what they're using for their benchmark to determine if they can meet that particular standard. They're going to be increasing the monitoring up there, but as this compound of concern kicks up, at least it doesn't look like our landfill is looking at a major issue from it. And
Can I ask a question about that?
yes.
What spurred what was the impetus for the testing in the first place? Was it just
Um,
simple proactivity, or was there something that encouraged that?
Over the near recent past, there's been a number of organizations that have raised the concern of these compounds. And internationally, there's a strong desire to go ahead and look at these compounds. They have a tendency to be present in firefighting foam. And it's also kind of the concept from the past in Scotchgard. So in carpets and a number of other activities, the most critical incidents of areas of concern have been around facilities that normally have firefighting systems, active systems. So military bases and some commercial facilities, certainly commercial facilities that produce these chemicals. But the extended concern was that waste from households might accumulate in the landfills, rugs, carpet, other things, and that it would wash off and into the runoff from the landfills. And the easiest thing is these are very stable chemicals. That's why they were chosen to go ahead and use for these activities. They're considered forever chemicals, never actually degenerating. The concerns are what kind of disruption they may have on the endocrine system, other metabolic systems and such. That's under review at this particular point for whatever. But the EPA 3 or 4 years ago went ahead and started floating standards on this. A lot of those have been rolled back. I think it's fair to say that the governmental entities are looking at that to determine a standard and what needs to go happen on this. But as the landfill said, they went ahead and went proactive on this, and they started doing some monitoring to try to see if there was a presence of these materials. And they were rather happy to see that at least so far, they don't see much there to work with, but just kind of reporting it out. And then the last item that I want to go ahead and just highlight is we got an update on the renewable natural gas plant up at the landfill. And that was brought online last May. It started its effort to go ahead and become operational and do its startup in the start of the fiscal year, October. They did have some revenues back, providing clean natural gas to Intermountain Gas for distribution for customers, and received a revenue check for both quarters from July to September and October to December. I think it was about 100, excuse me, $150,000 from September to, from July to September, and 75,000 for October to December. They're reporting out, as you can imagine, startup is just trying to get the kinks out of the system to get it to where it's stable. They're hoping in the end, once it gets stable, to be able to generate about $1 million a year in revenue from that, which would supplant our trash fees a bit. That is compared to previously when the gas was being used in the generator sets up there to produce electricity, which was making about $300,000 a year. So it's kind of a nice improvement up there. But anyway, things are proceeding up there. They are bringing it online. But startup, if you've ever had to start up a plant, there are hiccups. And once you nail one area, another hiccup comes up, and that's what they're dealing with up there. So having presented all that material, are there any comments or questions on the material that's been presented?
Mr. Chair and/or Rochelle, I have one. Going back to the lithium-ion battery incident, and you mentioned the frequency of how many incidents we're seeing in the late, like last year, this year so far. Are each of these incidents resulting in what we saw a couple of weeks ago with a whole truck being dumped and the fire department having to come out and take action, or was this an exceptionally severe version of an incident?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay to answer. Well, we actually had 2 truck fires that same day. One that was on the news and one that wasn't at the news. That was at one of our transfer stations. I would say the majority of them result in ejecting the load. In a couple of cases, I think in all cases, when they compact the blade to contain the fire or try to smother it. I think either probably Bruce or Chase can speak more to the frequency of fires are occurring with regularity at this point, like pretty frequently. We're seeing fires now, almost all lithium ion battery related. Did either of you want to add anything to that? But well, Bruce is coming up. I can just tell you all of our drivers are trained to know where on their route to eject a load, and constant communication with their supervisor and our logistics analyst to know where. In this case, that one that you saw in the news was 36th and State during rush hour in the morning. So.
Mr. Chair. Come on up here to the microphone here and turn on the little gray button on there to make that green. And then if you need to push the, yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Bethany.
this is Allie
Oh,
over here. Hi. Just could we speak to, just was at the SWAC meeting report and stick to, focus your comments on what we talked about at the report. If we want to kind of deviate outside of that agenda item, we'll need to set that for the next meeting, but please feel free to talk about what was at the SWAC meeting and what was discussed.
All right, Mr. Chair. So I'm assuming we're talking about the truckload that was ejected. So yeah, that's normal practice. We train our drivers that in case we have a truck fire, to find a safe location to eject the load. As Rochelle mentioned, we did have a second fire. They were able to compact that load and smother the fire out, and we were able to safely offload that at our landfill or transfer station. That is becoming more and more common. And so we are training and then trying to, one benefit to this was that this really did educate the public because it was picked up by news and media. And so for us, that was really beneficial.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Bruce. I didn't intend that we need to go into much detail on this. I was curious.
Thank you.
Thank you.
additional comments or questions on the presented material? We'll move on. The next item on the agenda is staff reports. It's time for the annual tonnage report. And I think, Peter, you're going to go ahead and present this.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, thank you for giving us this time to give an annual report. On a quarterly basis, staff will come and provide some details about tonnage data that we have for our curbside services and some of our programs. As it's the beginning of the calendar year, we wanted to take the previous quarterly reports, show you an overall picture, and also kind of give you a sense of how this trends with the previous year. So we'll start out with our residential curbside tonnage. You can see the last calendar year, 2025 on the right. We did have about a 4.5% increase on tonnage overall. You can see kind of each chart has a pretty similar trend in how that tonnage looks like month to month. Next is curbside recycle. This we saw about an 8% increase over the year, which is always encouraging to see those recycle numbers go up. Translating overall, for our diversion rates, we did have an increase from 10.2% to 10.7% in our residential averages over the full year. You'll see you have kind of a shallow U from January to October. Then we peak for leaf season. This year we went all the way up around 19%. We're going to go a little deeper into those leaf numbers in just a couple of slides. But again, very encouraging to see the diversion happening. Just one quick note, commercial average did decrease slightly. One thing that you won't see here is maybe the diversion that we would have from reuse programs like Trash or Treasure. That's very popular in the city. It's a great opportunity for potential waste to find a new life and have that life cycle expanded. So just something to bear in mind. For our programs, this speaks a little bit to our issue with fires. You'll see there's a huge jump that we've had this last year in tonnage that went into household hazardous waste. This is very encouraging and hopefully makes its way to ensuring fewer fires at the landfill, transfer station, and in those trucks. But again, very encouraging to see those numbers go up and that program be utilized by our citizens. Likewise, we saw a jump in our bulky item pickup. So last year was the rollout of this program. You'll see there was a buildup from January to May in 2024. You kind of see that in 2025 again in February and March, all the way up to kind of our spring cleanup time in May. You also see more spikes in December and last January. Maybe indicative of the holiday season. So again, encouraging to see that program being taken advantage of by our citizens. Last program we wanted to touch on is Recycle the Fall. So we had a great year this year. Again, this is a program that's being utilized. What you'll see is a change in behavior. We had nearly a 50-50 split last year of leaves that were collected curbside and those that were collected at the drop site. We saw a slight decrease in leaves that were collected at drop site and a large increase in curbside. But net tonnage overall, just short of about 200 tons. So again, we really appreciate, especially Republic Services and the work that they do during that time and getting this material diverted and offering these programs to our citizens. And I believe that is it for our annual report.
Members of the commission, do you have any questions or comments on the presented material? Thank you. That was perfect, spot on for updating us on the situation with flows. Next, we move on into stakeholder updates, which is a chance for us to go ahead and check with our service providers to see if they've got anything they need to present to us. First under that, Republic Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would ask that we have Chase come up and give an update on the Sawtooth landfill if possible.
Welcome.
Appreciate it, Chairman. Yeah, so Sawtooth landfill, we did speak about that today, earlier at the Ada County SWAC. Yeah, so just kind of where we're at right now, we met the requirements of our conditional use permit. And I guess maybe backtrack a little bit. We acquired the landfill from IRWS, as many of you may know, in the spring of last year. It was in desperate need of a lot of remediation efforts, given the state that we acquired the landfill in. And so there's a lot of requirements in our conditional use permit that we needed to meet to be able to comply and get that on board. And so we're at the juncture where we've met those requirements. We've invested quite a bit, a substantial amount just in getting it environment and into environmental compliance in a safe and responsible manner. And we're really proud of the efforts that the team has made in getting that going. So, safety and environmental responsibility are absolutely at the forefront of that. And so now that we met those requirements of the conditional use permit, we as we're relocating waste that was pre-existing off the side slope, and we're putting into our new permitted lined cell that we have on site there. And we're looking to take in waste really locally and continuing to put a fluff layer on that cell here over the next several weeks, possibly month or so, but then maybe expanding a little bit more broadly. So right now, our posted gate rate there is going to be $40 a ton is what we're anticipating on posting there. Yeah, really excited about it and looking forward to having a great asset to help all stakeholders within Southwest Idaho. Any questions?
Thank you, Chase.
Yeah, thank you.
Next from Timber Creek, Mike, do you have anything you want to present or inform the commission on?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I got a couple things to update on. We, like we said in SWAC here at Ada County today, we had a good fall leaf program. Dry fall makes for a great leaf season. So a lot of people were making more of the diversion efforts, which was really nice. A lot less ends up in the street because usually they blow into the street and then those can't be recycled. So it's a great leaf campaign this year. Yeah, and then we are meeting our diversion requirements to move into Nampa. So I want to give you an update on that. Things are going well there. We started increasing our prices to kind of slow down the volume of wood going into the facility. So it kind of helps with the amount of material we'll have to deal with at the end of the year. So we've seen a lot more material go into the Ada County landfill when we switch those rates over. So just kind of want to give you an update on that. So that's all I had to add, unless you guys had any questions. All right. Thank you, guys.
I don't believe I'm missing it. Any other stakeholders. So we move on to the next meeting. The next meeting is February 25th, 26. That Wednesday at 4 p.m. we will get together. So unless I'm missing any business that we've overlooked during the meeting, then having completed all the business on our agenda, this meeting is now adjourned. It is 5 minutes to 5. And as always, thank you for what you do for this city.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.